Hi. All right, so our game's coming along now, but let's make a spawning system. So our little target flowers, we can create new ones on their own. Because right now when we play, there's just these two, and then once you either like take them out or they fly off the screen, it's over. So let's make a system where new flowers appear. All right. First thing we want to do though, let's maybe take our little bee friend and we're gonna just pull it off to the side of the screen here, just so you don't see it at the beginning, and that way it doesn't accidentally hit one of the flowers. Because if we take this out, it kind of messes things up. So we want to keep it. We just don't want the player to see it initially. So we'll just hide it here to the side. Okay, so let's make a little system that's going to make new flowers. Okay, we're gonna spawn or instantiate new copies of these. Okay, first thing, let's make a little game object that's going to handle the creating of the new flowers. So I'm gonna double click and go down here to sprite, and I'm gonna call this one spawn one. Okay, spawn meaning to create or something's gonna come out of it. So spawn one, I'm gonna click. It wants me to make the art. For the art for this one, I'm just going to make too big. I'm gonna make just like an arrow pointing to the right. Okay, and similar to our B, this is gonna be hidden off the screen, so it's okay if yours is a little ugly. No one's gonna see it. Okay, I have it facing the right, and the reason I have it facing the right is because the angle is at 0 degrees, and that's pointing to the right. So if I want to rotate this so it's pointing down, I'm going to change here my angle to 90 degrees. And the reason I just didn't draw it pointing down at the beginning is because we want, when it creates new flowers, we want it to be pointing down, which is 90 degrees. 0 degrees is facing to the right. So there's two things happening here, right? It's the angle that the shape is at. Like if I click on these, for example, let's see, those angles are 90. How about our main character? Our main character's angle is 0. So each object has its own angle that it's pointed at, and that's kind of separate from what the art looks like. So there's two parts to that. But the key thing here is 90 degrees is pointed down, 0's to the right, 180's to the left, 270's going up. Okay, so this one, let's see. I think I'll have this one create the green. We'll create new green flowers using this one, right? Before we go to the event sheet to do that, we're gonna think like, when do we want to make this new flower, and where? So wherever this arrow is gonna be where, and then when just comes down to like maybe having a timer, and the timer is just gonna go run for a certain amount of time, and after it's done, create a new flower, and then run again, and when it gets done, make another one. So I'm gonna click on this, and I'm gonna add a behavior, add new behavior, and then we're gonna scroll. Let's see, where is it? Right here, timer. Okay, manage multiple timers which work per instance. Sure. Okay, so now we have a timer connected to this arrow, but we haven't set the timer up yet. It just like, we just added the properties to our arrow. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the event sheet, and we're gonna make a new event for this arrow. All right, so I click here, pick an object to create a condition from. It's gonna be for our spawn arrow. Okay, and what are we gonna check for? So for this one, it's asking you like, when, if you're gonna have a timer, when do you want the timer to start? And we want it to start at the beginning of the game. So maybe I'll scroll down, and there's this one here called on created. Okay, and this just means whenever this arrow exists, that's when this is gonna occur. And since it starts at the beginning of the game, it exists in the beginning of the game, that means that this event will also happen at the beginning of the game. Okay, so I'm gonna click next, and now we have an event here for our spawn arrow, and once it exists, do some action. Okay, what action do you want to do? So I click add action, and this was also going to be for the spawn arrow. Click next, and now because we added the timer, down here, we added the timer behavior a minute ago. We have these options here. So I want to start the timer. All right, so once this arrow exists, start running this timer. All right, how long should the timer run for? By default, it's 1 second. That might be a little quick, so I'm gonna try out 3 seconds and see if that works better. Type, you can click here and it'll give you a hint of what this means. Whether to run this timer only once or regularly until canceled. So we want regular because we want this to keep looping and keep creating new flowers. We don't want to just make one, we want to make unlimited. Okay, and then the tag is what do you want to name this timer? Enter a name to identify this timer. So I'm gonna call it make target 1. All right, you can name it something much shorter than that, but for me, that's just descriptive. Target 1 is the green flower, so it's kind of like you know what's gonna happen with it. All right, I'm gonna click done, and now we have this first part set up. So it's spawn, create a new, or when the arrow exists, start the timer. It's gonna run for 3 seconds and it's gonna loop. Okay, but nothing's going to happen yet because this is only running the timer. We still need to say what happens when the timer is done. So I'm going to click here, add event. And this one's also going to be for the arrow. And now we're going to go back to the timer section and we have a couple different options here. And the one we want here is on timer, triggered when a timer has elapsed. So this means that the 3 second timer is done. 3 seconds have passed. Do something. Okay, and it wants to check what was the name of that timer again. So whatever you just named it, you could have named yours something different, but mine was make target 1. And you need to make sure here that whatever you type is inside of these quotation marks. You can tell that it's orange, right? If I erase it, let's see, I get little error messages. So just make sure that whatever you type is in the quotes, and also that you don't have like different capitalization or spacing, right? So this is written differently than I had it before, so I need to make sure it looks exactly the same as this one up here. Okay, so that's our timer done. Okay, so now this says when make target 1 timer is done, then what action do you want to do? We want to make a new flower. So I'm gonna click add action, and this one's also going to be for our spawn arrow. And here is where we're going to search for, I'm just going to type in spa, and here we go, spawn another object. Okay, that means we're going to create a new copy of whatever we want. So I'll click here to choose, and what do we want to make? We want to make a new target 1. Okay, we can leave layer and image point the same for now, and then we'll click done. Okay, so now run the timer. When the arrow exists, run the timer. Timer's going to run for 3 seconds. On the same arrow, when the timer's done running, then we're going to use that arrow to make a new flower, and it's just going to be wherever that arrow is. Okay, so they should be popping out over here on this side. So let's test it. Okay, so here's my original ones. I can pew pew. And let's see, has it been 3 seconds? Where's the new one? Oh, there it is. It works. And there's another one. And they're just gonna keep coming. Cool. So that works. We can also repeat the same steps for the blue one. And we'll just do, you know, instead of target 1, it'll say target 2. We have to make another arrow, but you can repeat all the same steps. All right, that's it for this one. Have fun making your spawning system and making your game. Don't forget to save.